The Evinrude on my airboat's been making this clicking sound for 3 weeks now. Not bad enough to fix, just annoying enough to remind me I'm one breakdown away from losing the spring tourist season. I keep meaning to take her to Boudreaux's shop in Pierrepart, but then I think about what he'll charge and I think about Celine's tuition payment coming up, and I just keep adding oil and praying to St. Christopher like Mimir taught me. That clicking's the only sound this morning except for my own breathing and the slap of water against the hull. Usually by 6 a.m., the basin's alive, gators bellowing, nutria splashing, blue herons screaming like rusty gates. Today, nothing. Even the skeeters are quiet, which in Louisiana swamp country is like the ocean forgetting to make waves. The call came in at 5:15 from Dr. Nguyen at the LSU field station. She needed emergency transport for her team. Wouldn't say why over the phone, just that they were stranded at Site 7 and it was urgent. Site 7's deep basin, past where the tourist routes go, out where the cypress trees grow so thick the sunlight comes down green and filtered like you're underwater. It's also about 2 miles from the old Kimball chemical plant, which supposedly shut down in '08, but I've seen lights there at night when I'm running mullet nets. I should have charged her double. Hell, I should have said no. I had a group from Dallas booked for this afternoon, promised them we'd see at least 5 gators and maybe a black bear if they were lucky. Easy money. But Celine's braces cost $3,000 and the insurance only covered half, so when Dr. Nguyen said she'd pay $200 cash for a morning pickup, I canceled Dallas and pointed my bow toward the deep water. My daughter thinks I'm a coward for staying in Bayou Sorrel instead of moving to Baton Rouge like her mama wanted. Maybe she's right, but this swamp, I know every channel, every sandbar, every stretch where the water snakes like to sun themselves. Out here, I'm the expert. In Baton Rouge, I'd be just another broke Cajun with a 10th grade education and calluses on my hands. The clicking gets worse as I throttle up. I really should have gone to Boudreaux's. Site 7's marked by a metal pole with orange tape, stuck in the mud where Henderson Bayou meets Flat Lake. The LSU team set up there 3 months ago, studying something about invasive species and water chemistry. I didn't pay much attention to the details when Dr. Nguyen hired me for the initial drop-off. Scientists come and go out here all the time, usually looking at nutrient levels or counting fish, or doing whatever it is that requires clipboards and bottles, and that particular type of enthusiasm that pays $60 a trip. But when I round the last bend into Flat Lake, something's wrong immediately. The station's tent is shredded. Not torn down, shredded, like something with claws went through it repeatedly. Equipment scattered everywhere, a laptop half submerged in the shallows, sample coolers overturned, papers floating in the tea-colored water. And the smell, Jesus, the smell is like a fish kill mixed with that septic tank smell you get when the plumbing backs up, except sweeter, almost chemical. Dr. Nguyen's standing waist-deep in the water, near the remains of their dock, and she's got her arms wrapped around herself, even though it's already 75 degrees. Her grad students, there's supposed to be 3 of them, are huddled on what's left of the platform. One of them is crying. Not sniffling, actually crying, shoulders shaking. "Mr. LeBlanc," Dr. Nguyen calls out, and her voice cracks. She's maybe 40, Vietnamese-American. Always struck me as the no-nonsense type who probably tells her students to toughen up when they complain about the heat. Now she looks like she's barely holding it together. Thank God. We need to leave. Right now. I cut the engine and drift closer, years of swamp instinct making me scan the water. What happened? Where's your equipment? Forget the equipment. She's already wading toward my boat, not waiting for me to help. We need to get to the ranger station. We need to call the CDC. We need. She stops, shakes her head like she's trying to organize thoughts that won't line up. How much can your boat carry? All 4 of us plus you. Depends on distance. I can do 4 passengers to the highway easy, 5 if they're small, and we take it slow. But you gonna tell me what? Remy's in the water. The shout comes from one of the grad students, a tall kid with LSU Purple Pride tattooed on his forearm. He's pointing at something 30 feet from my boat, toward the cypress stand where the lake narrows back into bayou. I see ripples, then a head breaks the surface. Another student, younger, maybe 22, with dark hair plastered to his skull. But he's not swimming. He's jerking, twitching, his arms moving in ways that don't look voluntary. And his face, even from here I can see something's wrong with his face. It's too pale, almost gray, and there's something around his mouth, something that looks wet and glistening in the morning light. Remy. The kid with the tattoo starts to jump in, and Dr. Nguyen grabs him, actually tackles him back onto the platform. Don't. Don't go in the water. That's not, he's infected, Terrence. He's infected. The way she says it makes my scalp prickle. Not he's hurt or he's sick. Infected. Like it's something specific, something with rules. Remy goes under again. The ripples spread out and then stop. The water goes flat as glass. Get in the boat, I hear myself say. All of you. Now. They don't need to be told twice. Dr. Nguyen practically throws the crying girl. Her name tag says Simone. Toward me, then hauls herself over the side with Terrence right behind her. They're all soaked, all stinking of that sweet chemical smell. Up close I can see marks on their arms, red welts like mosquito bites except bigger, clustered. Those bites? I ask, starting the engine. The clicking sounds worse, angry. Parasites, Dr. Nguyen says. She's rummaging in her pack, pulls out a baggie with something in it. When she holds it up to the light, I see what looks like a tiny worm, maybe an inch long, pale white with a dark head. Nematodes. We found them in the gator populations 3 days ago. They burrow into the host's nervous system, hijack the brain stem, turn the host into a vector for reproduction. Simone makes a choking sound. Dr. Nguyen, my arm. I know, Simone. Just don't scratch them. The more you irritate them, the faster they burrow. I'm backing away from Site 7, trying to process this. You're telling me there's brain worms in the basin? In the water, Terrence says. His hands are shaking so bad, he can barely hold onto the rail. Everything. The gators, the fish, the nutria. Anything that lives in the water here is a potential vector. And it's spreading. We documented gators traveling as far as Lake Foss Point, over 8 miles in 2 days. They're drawn to each other once they're infected. They congregate. That explains the silence. All the healthy animals are gone, driven out or eaten. What about Remy? I ask, even though I don't want to know the answer. Dr. Nguyen opens her mouth, closes it. Finally, Remy went swimming yesterday afternoon. Said he needed to cool off. We told him not to. We'd already seen the parasites in the samples, but he did it anyway. This morning he woke up, wrong. Aggressive. Tried to bite Simone. We had to restrain him with the equipment straps, but he got loose and went back in the water. He kept saying he was thirsty, Simone whispers. He kept saying he needed to get back in the water. I open the throttle, pointing us toward Henderson Bayou and the route back to civilization. The engine's clicking is almost lost under the roar of the fan. Almost. Behind us, something huge breaks the surface at Site 7. A gator, maybe 12 feet, with that same gray pallor to its hide. It doesn't dive again. It just sits there, half submerged, watching us leave. And then I see another one. And another. 5, 7, a dozen gators, all floating motionless in flat lake, all facing the same direction. All facing us. How far to the ranger station? Dr. Nguyen asks. I do the math in my head. Henderson Bayou to Upper Grand River to the Levee Road to Highway 70. Normal speed, maybe 45 minutes. But the water's high from last week's rain, and half the usual routes are going to be flooded over sandbars, which means detours, which means hour and a half, I tell her. Maybe 2 if we have to take the long way around Bell River. The long way? Terrence's voice cracks. Why would we? Because the short way goes through the Phantom Mile. The 3 of them look at me like I just started speaking Chinese. It's a local thing, I explain, though explaining it makes me feel stupid, like I'm some superstitious backwoods coon-ass who believes in ghosts and fofollet. Stretch of water between Bell River and Bayou Pigeon. About a mile long, cut straight through the old-growth cypress. Locals won't go through there after dark. Hell, most won't go through in daylight if they can help it. Boats break down, people get lost, and there's stories about. I trail off, because how do you explain that 6 people have disappeared in the Phantom Mile in the last 20 years? How do you explain that every single one of them was found later, dead, miles from where they vanished? How do you explain that my own cousin Jules told me he saw something in there once, something that swam too fast and looked too human? Stories about what? Dr. Nguyen presses. Nothing. Probably nothing. Just swamp stories, you know? But the long way's safer. Except we don't have time for safer. Behind us, the water's starting to churn. The gators are moving, and they're moving fast, creating a wake that looks wrong for reptiles, like they're not swimming, but being pulled by some current that only exists for them. And ahead of us, in the direction of Henderson Bayou, I see more shapes in the water. More gators. More infected animals, forming a line like they're blocking the route. Mr. LeBlanc, Dr. Nguyen says quietly, I don't think we have a choice about which way to go. The Evinrude's clicking gets faster. For just a second, it sounds almost like laughter. The first gator comes at us from the left, exploding out of the willow roots like a torpedo. I see it half a second before impact, gray hide, mouth open showing teeth and that wet black throat, and I crank the wheel hard right. The boat tilts, Simone screams, and the gator's jaws snap shut on empty air where the hull was a heartbeat ago. It doesn't surface again, just vanishes back into the brown water like it was never there. They're hurting us, Terrence says. He's up at the bow, scanning the water. Look, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, blocking the channels. They're pushing us toward Bell River. He's right. Every time I try to angle toward the northern routes, toward the safer, more traveled waterways, there's movement in the water ahead. Gators, dozens of them, creating a living wall that forces me to change course. And every course change takes us closer to Bell River, closer to the Phantom Mile. This isn't natural behavior, Dr. Nguyen mutters. She's got her phone out, trying to get a signal. No bars. Out here in the deep basin, cell coverage is a joke. Alligators are solitary hunters. They don't coordinate. They don't herd. These ones do, I say. Another gator surfaces directly ahead, and I have to cut the throttle and swing wide around it. The boat loses speed, and behind us I can hear splashing, getting closer. Whatever's in their brains now, it's making them work together. Simone's staring at the welts on her arms. There are more than there were 10 minutes ago. The red marks have spread, clustered, and under the skin I can see something moving, like shadows beneath ice. Dr. Nguyen, she says, and her voice is very small, very young. How long do we have? Before we become like Remy. Dr. Nguyen doesn't answer right away. She's watching those movements under Simone's skin too. Finally, the gators we examined had parasite loads of over 200 individuals. At that concentration, neurological takeover occurred within 48 to 72 hours of initial infection. But you 3 were only exposed this morning, and the water contact was minimal. We might have days, maybe a week. Might, Terrence repeats. Maybe. If we can get to a hospital, if we can get antiparasitic drugs, if we can... She stops because there's no point in lying. We're 2 hours from the nearest hospital, even if we had a car. In an airboat, in these channels, with infected gators hunting us? We're not getting there. Bell River opens up ahead, wide and brown and deceptively calm. The cypress trees close in on both sides, their roots creating a maze of shadowed channels and dead-end pools. Somewhere in there, the river narrows to a single channel. The Phantom Mile. I've seen it exactly once, for years ago, when I was running from a storm and needed to cut through fast. Got halfway in before my engine died, not the Evinrude, a different motor, and spent 20 minutes drifting in that green darkness while thunder cracked overhead and something big brushed against the hull. When the engine finally caught again, I swore I'd never go back. Now I'm steering straight toward it. There has to be another way, Simone says. She's crying again, silent tears cutting tracks through the swamp mud on her face. Please, Mr. LeBlanc. Please. Call me Mark, I tell her, because if we're all going to die out here, we might as well be on a first-name basis. And there isn't another way. Not unless you want to try swimming. Don't joke about that, Dr. Nguyen snaps. The parasite load in this water is... She stops, stares past me toward the western bank. Oh God. I follow her gaze and understand why all the wildlife went quiet. There's a nutria on the bank, except it's not moving like a nutria should. It's standing upright on its hind legs, its front paws hanging limp, and its eyes are clouded white like cataracts. As we pass, it turns its head to track us with movements that are too smooth, too precise. Then it drops to all fours and scrambles into the water, swimming directly toward the boat. They're in the mammals too, Terrence breathes. Jesus Christ, it jumped species. More movement on both banks now. Raccoons, possums, something that might be a wild pig, all with that same gray pallor, all moving toward the water, all moving toward us. I open the throttle all the way, and the Evinrude screams. The clicking is constant now, a machine gun rattle under the roar. We're doing maybe 35 miles an hour, the hull barely touching water, spray roosting up on both sides. The infected animals fall behind, but the gators keep pace, swimming beneath the surface, dark shapes in dark water. Bell River narrows. The cypress trees lean in closer, their branches creating a canopy that turns the morning light into twilight. Spanish moss hangs in thick curtains from every branch, and the air gets heavier, harder to breathe. That sweet chemical smell is worse here, mixing with the normal rotten life smell of the swamp until my eyes water. And then we're in it. The Phantom Mile. The channel narrows to maybe 20 feet across, with cypress trunks rising on both sides like prison bars. The water's dead calm, black as used motor oil, and there's no current at all despite the recent rain. It's like floating on a mirror, except the surface is too thick, too still. When I look down, I can't see more than a few inches deep. The infected animals don't follow us in. They stop at the entrance, forming a line across the water, watching with those white clouded eyes. Waiting. Why aren't they coming? Simone asks. I don't have an answer. But my cousin Jules' story comes back to me. The one about seeing something in the Phantom Mile, something that swam too fast and looked too human. He never said what happened to his boat partner, just that they went in as two men and came out as one. Mark. Dr. Nguyen's voice is tight. Kill the engine. What? No, we need to. Kill the engine. Listen. I do. In the sudden silence after the Evinrude dies, I hear it. Breathing. Not ours, something else, something huge, like a sleeping giant somewhere in the trees. Deep, slow inhalations and exhalations that make the Spanish moss sway, even though there's no wind. And under that, clicking. Not from my engine. Clicking that's coming from everywhere at once, from the trees, from the water, from beneath the boat. A rhythmic, almost mechanical sound. That's not wind, Terence whispers. No, it's not. Something brushes the bottom of the boat. Not hard, gentle, almost curious, like fingers running along the hull. I grab the push-pull, ready to fend off whatever it is, but there's nothing visible in the water. Just that black surface, reflecting the canopy above. The parasites came from Kimball Chemical, Dr. Nguyen says suddenly. She's staring at her phone even though there's still no signal, like the data on it might save us. That's what we figured out yesterday. The plant's been leaking something into the groundwater, something that's mutating the nematodes, making them more aggressive, more adaptable. We found concentrations 50 times normal levels within a mile radius of the facility. And the Phantom Mile? I ask, though I already know the answer, is exactly 1 mile from the plant's main outflow pipe. The breathing gets louder, the clicking speeds up, and the water starts to move. Not a current, more like the surface is crawling, bulging upward in places like something underneath is pressing against it from below. The bulges move in patterns, circles within circles, spiraling outward from some point dead ahead. Start the engine, Simone begs. Please, please start the engine. I pull the cord. The Evinrude turns over once, twice, then dies with a sound like a cough. I pull again. Nothing. The clicking from the engine has stopped completely. Boudreaux's gonna say I told you so. I mutter and pull the cord again. This time it catches. The engine roars to life, and I don't waste time being grateful. I slam the throttle forward and aim straight down the channel, toward whatever's waiting at the end. The bulges in the water converge on us. I see them coming from both sides, moving faster than anything natural, and I realize they're not coming from underwater. They're on the surface, dozens of shapes that look like they're walking on top of the water itself. Simone screams. Terence is yelling something about the scientific impossibility of what we're seeing. Dr. Nguyen just stares, her scientist brain probably trying to catalog and categorize what defies every law of biology she knows. I see what Jules saw, what probably drove him to start drinking 10 years ago and never quite stop. They look human. Not human enough. The proportions are wrong, the limbs too long, the heads too large. But they're walking upright, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, emerging from the trees and the shadows and the water itself. Their skin is that same gray-pale color, slick and glistening, and where their faces should be there's just smooth, featureless surfaces except for the mouths. The mouths are open. The mouths are full of those white worms, writhing and clicking, clicking and writhing. They're not trying to stop us. They're guiding us, herding us like the gators did, forming a corridor of bodies that funnels us toward the end of the channel, toward whatever's waiting there. The parasites don't just infect, Dr. Nguyen says. Her voice sounds far away, clinical, like she's already detached from what's happening. They remake. They redesign the host to better suit their reproductive needs. Those people, those used to be people. The parasites kept the basic structure but optimized it for aquatic life, for hive behavior, for being nightmare fuel, Terence finishes. Jesus, what did Kimball Chemical dump in here? The channel opens up ahead. I can see light, real light, sunlight breaking through the canopy. The end of the Phantom Mile. We're gonna make it. We're actually going to. The engine dies. Not a cough this time. Just sudden, complete silence. The clicking stops. The boat's momentum carries us forward maybe 30 feet before we start to drift. Behind us, the gray figures slide back into the water without a splash. Ahead, the exit to the channel, so close I could swim there in 5 minutes under normal circumstances. But these aren't normal circumstances. Everybody stay in the boat, I say, reaching for the push-pole. I'll get us out. Mark. Dr. Nguyen points at the water near the bow. Look, there's something floating there. Something wearing the torn remains of an LSU Marine Biology Department t-shirt. Remy surfaces slowly, his head breaking the water like a submarine coming up. His face is gray, his eyes clouded white, and his mouth is open in a permanent O-shape. As I watch, one of those white worms slides out from between his lips, drops into the water, and swims away with disturbing purpose. Remy? Simone's voice breaks. Oh God, Remy, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He doesn't respond. Can't respond. Whatever made him Remy is gone now, replaced by something that wears his shape but serves a different purpose. He opens his mouth wider, and I see there are dozens of the parasites in there, writhing over his tongue, filling his throat. Then he reaches up and grabs the side of the boat. I hit him with the push-pull. Not a thought, pure instinct. Swing for the fences like I'm 14 again, and hitting for the Bayou Sorrel Gators Little League team. The aluminum pole catches Remy, the thing wearing Remy's face, right in the temple with a sound like a hammer hitting wet wood. He doesn't let go, doesn't even flinch, just keeps gripping the boat rail with gray fingers that don't look entirely human anymore, the knuckles swollen, the fingernails blackened and curled. His eyes don't blink, don't register pain, don't register anything except whatever imperative the parasites have programmed into what's left of his brain stem. Get him off. Terrence lunges forward with an oar, but Dr. Nguyen grabs him. Don't touch him. The parasites can transfer through direct contact, broken skin, mucous membranes. If you get his fluids on you, you're infected. Remy pulls himself higher. Water streams off him, that same black, too thick water from the Phantom Mile, and where it touches the boat hull it seems to cling, seems to crawl upward in defiance of gravity. One of his legs hooks over the side rail. He's halfway in. I hit him again, this time in the throat. The pole connects with a wet crunch, and his head snaps back at an angle that should be impossible without breaking the neck. But he doesn't fall, just straightens that broken neck with a series of wet clicks. Not the clicking from before, but actual bone and cartilage popping back into place, and keeps climbing. Mark the engine. Dr. Nguyen's trying to restart it, yanking the cord over and over. Nothing. Not even that dying cough from before. I can see her hands shaking, see the welts on her arms spreading, connecting, forming patterns that look almost like circuitry under her skin. It's completely dead. The fuel line, the spark plug, something. Forget the engine. I drop the push-pole and grab one of the sample coolers, the big one, the kind they use for keeping specimens on ice. 40 pounds of plastic and metal handles. I raise it over my head and bring it down on Remy's skull with every ounce of strength I have. His head caves in. Actually caves in like a Halloween pumpkin dropped from a roof. But instead of brains and blood, there's just more of those white worms, dozens of them, hundreds of them, spilling out of the wound and dropping into the boat, onto my boots, onto the deck where Simone is screaming and trying to scramble backward. Remy keeps climbing. The parasites writhe across what's left of his face, filling in the collapsed skull like living scaffolding, rebuilding him from the inside out. I watch in frozen horror as his features remake themselves, the flesh flowing like clay, the bone structure shifting until he's not Remy anymore, but something that's using Remy's biological material to create a new template. Something optimized for the water. Something with gills. Dr. Nguyen stops, trying to restart the engine. She's staring at her arms, at the welts that are now visibly moving, pulsing. It's accelerating, she says quietly. The exposure from Remy, the concentration is too high. We don't have days. We have hours. Maybe less. Then we swim for it, Terrence says. He's already stripping off his LSU hoodie, getting ready to dive. It's only 100 yards to the exit. We can make it. You saw what's in the water, I tell him. You won't make it 20 feet. We're dead anyway. His voice cracks. 23 years old, whole life ahead of him, and he's going to die in a Louisiana swamp because he needed 3 credits in field research to graduate. The parasites are in us. We're infected. We're going to turn into that. He points at Remy's still transforming form. At least if I drown human. He's not wrong. I can see it in his eyes, the same calculation I'm running in my head. The same math my daughter will have to do when she's old enough to understand, why her daddy never came home from a simple pickup run. 2 hours to a hospital that might not even have the right drugs. Versus an hour, maybe less, before the parasites take over our brains and turn us into recruitment vectors for their hive. Simone makes a choking sound. When I look at her, I see blood running from her nose. Not a lot, just a thin trickle, but it's dark, almost black, and there's something moving in it. Something white and thin as a thread. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "Dr. Nguyen, I'm sorry. I scratched the bites. I know you said not to, but they itched so bad and I couldn't. I didn't mean to." "Simone." Dr. Nguyen moves toward her, then stops, some clinical part of her brain probably recognizing that there's nothing she can do, no comfort she can offer that won't be a lie. "Simone, just stay calm. Try not to move too much. It might slow the progression." Might. Maybe. All the words we've been using since this morning. All the words that mean we're guessing, that we have no idea what we're dealing with, that science and logic and years of education mean nothing against a mutation that should be impossible. Remy finishes pulling himself into the boat. He's crouched on the deck now, water still streaming off him, and the face he's wearing isn't Remy's anymore. It's smoother, more streamlined, with eyes that are positioned slightly farther apart and a mouth that opens too wide. He's looking at Simone, looking at the blood running from her nose. And then he reaches out toward her. "No." The word comes out of me before I can think about it. I grab the push-pull again, position myself between Remy and the girl. "You don't touch her. Whatever you are now, whatever you're trying to do, you don't touch her." He tilts his head. There's something in that gesture that's almost curious, almost human. Like whoever Remy was is still in there somewhere, watching from behind those changed eyes, trying to understand why I'm interfering with what the parasites have programmed him to do. Then his mouth opens and he speaks. The voice is wrong, too wet, like talking through a mouthful of water, but the words are clear. "Join us." Terrence makes a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. "Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus Christ, it can talk." "The parasites don't destroy intelligence," Dr. Nguyen says. She's backed up against the stern, putting as much distance between herself and Remy as possible. They repurpose it. They use the host's neural pathways, the language centers, the memory. They use everything. Which means cognitively, that's still Remy. But the will, the personality, the self, that's been overwritten by the hive imperative. "Join us," Remy says again. He's looking at Simone, at the blood, at the parasites visible in the dark stream running down her face. "You're ready. You're changing. It's better in the water. It doesn't hurt in the water." "Is that true?" Simone asks. Her voice is very small. "Does it hurt?" Dr. Nguyen doesn't answer. Can't answer. Because how do you tell a 21-year-old girl that yes, it probably hurts, that the parasites burrow through your nervous system and hijack your brain stem and remake your flesh into something more useful to them, and all of that is probably agony beyond anything human language can describe? How do you tell her that the only mercy she can hope for is that the parasites eventually destroy the parts of her brain that process pain? "Simone." I hear myself talking, the words coming from somewhere deep, some part of me that still believes there's a way out of this. "Simone, look at me. You're not ready. You're not changing. You're just sick, and sick people get better. That's what they do." She looks at me with eyes that are already starting to cloud white at the edges. "You're lying." "Yeah, I am." Remy lunges for her. I swing the pole again, catch him in the chest, and he staggers back. But he doesn't fall. Doesn't even seem to feel it. Just regains his balance and comes forward again, patient, inexorable, like water finding a crack. Behind him, I can see movement in the channel. The gray figures are returning, emerging from the water one by one, forming a circle around the boat. Waiting. "We have to make a choice," Dr. Nguyen says. She's looking at me, and I can see in her eyes that she's already made hers. The parasites want us in the water. That's where they reproduce, where they spread. They need the water to complete their life cycle. As long as we're in the boat, we're slowing them down. But Simone, she doesn't finish. Doesn't have to. We all know what happens next. Simone's infection is progressing faster than the rest of ours. Minutes, maybe before she turns. Before she becomes like Remy, another recruitment vector trying to pull the rest of us into the water. "We could restrain her," Terrence says. "Like we did with Remy. Tie her down until..." "Until what?" Dr. Nguyen's voice is sharp, clinical, the tone she probably uses when a student proposes something stupid in lab. "Until we get to a hospital that doesn't exist? Until drugs we don't have cure a parasitic infection we don't understand?" She's dying, Terrence. We're all dying. The only question is whether we die human or die as vectors. Simone is crying, silent tears mixing with the blood, both running down her face in dark streams. I don't want to die, she whispers. Please, I don't want to die. And here it is, the choice. The impossible, unbearable choice that my brain has been trying to avoid since the moment Remy grabbed the boat rail. Option 1. I throw Simone overboard. Give the parasites what they want. Maybe they let the rest of us go. Maybe the boat starts. Maybe we make it to the exit and find help and the drugs work and we survive this. It's a long chain of maybes, but it's something. And all it costs is one 21-year-old girl who's already dying anyway. Option 2, I don't. We keep her in the boat. We try to protect her, try to restrain her when she turns, try to hold out until what? Until we all succumb? Until the parasites take all of us, and there's no one left who remembers being human? My daughter's face flashes through my mind. Celine at 14, rolling her eyes when I tried to explain why we couldn't afford the school trip to New York. Celine at 10, crying because her mama left. Celine at 6, asking me why I smell like fish all the time, if I could maybe get a job at the Walmart like normal dads. What would she want me to do? Hell, what would I want someone to do if it was her in this boat? Mark, Dr. Nguyen's watching me, and I can see she knows what I'm thinking. Whatever you decide, we won't judge you. This isn't a situation with right answers. But it is, isn't it? There's always a right answer, even when both choices lead to blood. The right answer is the one you can live with after. The one that doesn't wake you up at 3 a.m. for the rest of your life, however long that is. I look at Simone, at this kid who came down from LSU wanting to save the swamp, wanting to understand the ecosystem, wanting to make a difference, who spent yesterday collecting water samples and probably complained about the heat and the mosquitoes and maybe thought about her parents and whether she'd picked the right major and all the normal things normal people think about, who doesn't deserve to die, who especially doesn't deserve to die alone in the dark water, drowning in parasites that will wear her corpse like a puppet. The hell with this, I say. I grab the fuel line, yank it free from the tank, stick my finger in the opening, and pull it out wet with gasoline. Not a clog. The fuel's getting to the engine, which means it's the spark plug or the magneto or something electrical that I can't fix with duct tape and profanity. But I can fix it with fire. Terrence, you got a lighter? He stares at me. What? A lighter. Matches. Anything that makes fire. You're a college kid. You've got to have something. Ah, yeah. He digs in his wet jeans, pulls out a Bic lighter in a waterproof case. But what are you? I snatch it from him, move to the stern where the Evinrude sits silent and dead. Remy's moving toward Simone again, and Dr. Nguyen is between them, her arms out like she thinks she can physically hold back whatever he's become. She can't, but she's trying anyway, and I love her for it. When I say move, I tell them, everyone get to the bow. Understand? Mark, Dr. Nguyen starts. Just trust me. Please. The fuel line is still dripping. I unscrew the cap on the gas tank. It's half full, maybe 3 gallons, and stuff the torn end of my shirt into the opening like a wick. The gasoline soaks through immediately, cold and sharp smelling. 3 gallons of fuel plus an outboard engine plus an aluminum boat equals a really stupid idea, but I'm fresh out of smart ones. I flick the lighter. The flame catches on the 3rd try. Move, I shout and touch the flame to my shirt. The fuel ignites with a whoosh that singes my eyebrows. I stumble back as fire races up the makeshift wick into the tank, and the explosion isn't huge. Not Hollywood movie huge. Just a sharp crack and a bloom of orange flame that turns the Evinrude into a bonfire. The blast wave hits me in the chest, knocks me on my ass, and suddenly I'm underwater, the black surface closing over my head. No. Not the water. Anything but the water. I kick, thrash, break the surface choking and spitting. The boat's on fire, actually on fire, flames licking up from the stern, and the others are at the bow, screaming at me, and Remy's screaming too, except his scream isn't human. It's that clicking sound amplified, a shriek of clicking that makes my teeth hurt. And all around the boat, the gray figures are moving back, retreating from the flames. Of course, the parasites are adapted for water, for cool, dark, wet environments. Fire is their natural enemy. Fire is. My hand touches something in the water, something that wraps around my wrist like a cable. I look down and see fingers, gray fingers, attached to an arm, attached to one of the gray figures, the ones that used to be human, the ones that are pulling me down. I try to scream, but water fills my mouth. I try to kick, but there are more hands now, dozens of them, covering my legs, my chest, my face, pulling me deeper into water that shouldn't be this deep, that was only 4 feet a minute ago, but now feels bottomless. And I can feel them. Not just the hands. I can feel the parasites searching for entry points, for wounds, for any way into my bloodstream. I sealed my mouth shut, but I felt one go up my nose, felt it slide through my sinuses with a pain like razor blades, felt it hit the back of my throat and start burrowing. This is how I die. Not from drowning. From becoming something else. From having my brain stem hijacked and my flesh repurposed and my daughter growing up knowing her daddy turned into a monster in the swamp. Something grabs my collar and pulls. Hard. Up instead of down. I break the surface again, and this time when I cough, the parasite comes up with the water. I see it for just a second, white, writhing, trying to swim back toward my face, before Terrence smashes it with the oar. Come on. He's leaning over the side, Dr. Nguyen holding his legs so he doesn't fall in. Grab my hand. I grab. He pulls. My arms are lead, my lungs are fire, but somehow I get one elbow hooked over the rail, and Terrence hauls me in like a fish. I land in the bow with the others, gasping and retching. The stern is fully engulfed now. The flames are spreading forward, eating through the cheap fiberglass hull like paper. We've got maybe 2 minutes before the whole boat is gone. But the gray figures have retreated 20 feet. 30. Forming a ring around the boat, but not closing in. Not while the fire's burning. The exit's right there, Dr. Nguyen says. She's pointing toward the end of the channel, where sunlight breaks through the canopy. Maybe 60 yards. If we swim, we'll never make it, Terrence finishes. The second we hit the water, they'll converge. The fire's the only thing keeping them back. Simone is unconscious. Or maybe not unconscious, maybe just too far gone to stay awake. Her eyes are half open, filmed white, and her breathing is shallow and wet. The blood from her nose has stopped, but only because the parasites have probably filled her sinuses, her throat, her lungs. I think about Celine again. Wonder if she'll understand why I did what I'm about to do. Wonder if she'll hate me for it or love me for it, or just forget me like her mama wanted her to. Listen, I tell the others. When the boat burns through, when it sinks, they're gonna come for us. All of them. And we can't fight them all. So what do you suggest? Dr. Nguyen asks. But she knows. I can see it in her eyes. She's already run the same calculations, reached the same conclusion. I suggest you swim like hell. All 3 of you. Don't stop, don't look back. Get to the exit and run. What about you? I pick up the push-pull. Check that the lighter still works. It does, waterproof case living up to its name. I'm gonna give you a head start. Mark, it's not a debate. I'm 52 years old, I smoke a pack a day, and I can't swim worth a damn even when I'm not infected with brain worms. You 3 are young. You're educated. You might be able to figure out how to stop this thing from spreading, how to warn people, how to... I stop because the truth is they probably can't. Probably won't make it past the exit. But they've got a chance, and that's more than I've got. Terrence opens his mouth, closes it, finally just nods and starts helping Dr. Nguyen lift Simone. Wait. Dr. Nguyen pulls out her phone, the one with no signal, and shoves it into my hands. The video files, everything we recorded about the parasites, the mutation rate, the behavioral patterns, it's all on here. If you make it out, if somehow you survive this, get it to the CDC. Make them understand what's happening. The boat lurches. A section of the stern collapses into the water with a hiss of steam and the groan of dying fiberglass. The flames are at the middle seat now, reaching for the bow. Go, I tell them. Now. Dr. Nguyen goes first, sliding into the water on the side farthest from the gray figures. Then Terrence, supporting Simone between them. They start swimming, not fast but steady, toward that patch of sunlight. The gray figures watch them go. Watch me. Wait. I hold up the lighter. Come on then. Let's see if you burn. The first one comes at me from the port side, moving through the water like an eel, like something that forgot it used to have bones. I wait until it's within arm's reach, then swing the push-pull low, catch it across what used to be its throat. The impact jars my arms, but the figure goes under, and I use that second to splash gasoline. There's maybe a cup left in the tank, sloshing around across the water's surface. The flame from the burning boat touches it, and the surface ignites. Blue flame, dancing across the black water, spreading in a widening circle that makes the gray figures retreat further. But not far enough. Behind me, I hear splashing. Dr. Nguyen and Terrence are maybe 30 yards out now, pulling Simone between them. The gray figures are forming up between them and the exit, not attacking yet but positioning, hurting. Always hurting. The parasites have figured out that coordinated effort works better than individual action. They're learning, adapting, getting smarter, which means I need to be stupider. Need to stop thinking like a human who wants to survive and start thinking like bait. I grab the sample cooler, the one I smashed Remy's head with, still covered in worm things and gray matter, and throw it into the water on the opposite side from where the others are swimming. It lands with a splash that echoes off the cypress trees. Every gray figure's head turns toward it simultaneously, that exact same motion, that hive mind precision that makes my skin crawl. Yeah, that's right, I shout at them. Come and get it. Fresh meat right here. They come. Not slowly, not with the careful patience they showed before. They come fast, converging from all sides, and I get maybe a second to appreciate how wrong I was about having any kind of plan before the first one hits the boat. The impact nearly capsizes us. Another gray figure grabs the rail where Remy did, and I hit it with the pole, feel the skull give way, see those white worms spill out. But it doesn't stop, just keeps pulling itself up, and there are more behind it, more hands grabbing the hull, more faces that aren't quite faces anymore pressing against the fiberglass. The boat's tilting. Water's pouring over the side. I'm standing in 6 inches of it, and I can see them in the water at my feet. The parasites, hundreds of them, swimming in purposeful circles like they're waiting for me to fall. The flames reach the bow. Heat washes over me, and I'm reminded of summers when I was a kid, when Mimir would take me and Jules crawfishing, and we'd boil the catch in a big pot over a propane burner. The steam would rise up and hit you in the face, and you'd think you couldn't breathe, but you could. You always could. I can't breathe now. One of the gray figures gets its leg over the rail. I hit it with the pole, and it falls back, but 2 more are right behind it. 3. 5. They're not trying to infect me anymore. They're trying to capsize the boat, to dump me into the water where they have all the advantages. And it's working. The boat lists hard to starboard. I slide, grab the rail, hold on as equipment and supplies slide past me into the water. Dr. Nguyen's laptop goes in. The coolers. My tackle box with the good lures that my cousin gave me 20 years ago. Everything. Through the smoke and flames, I can see the others. They've made it maybe 40 yards. 50. The gray figures between them and the exit are closing in, but slowly, like they're waiting for some signal. The signal is me going under. That's what they're waiting for. The boat groans. Fiberglass cracks with a sound like gunshots. The stern is completely gone now, just flames and smoke and that chemical smell mixing with burning plastic. 10 seconds, maybe less, before structural integrity fails completely. I could jump, could try to swim for it. Might make it 5 feet before they pull me down. Or, I look at the lighter in my hand. Look at the fuel tank, twisted and bent but still partially intact, flames licking around the edges. Maybe half a gallon still in there. Maybe less. Enough. I've never been a religious man, Mimir tried. Dragged me to St. Joseph's every Sunday until I was old enough to refuse. But I find myself praying anyway. Praying that Celine remembers me kindly. Praying that Dr. Nguyen makes it to someone who can help. Praying that this works. I grab the fuel tank. The metal is hot enough to blister, but I hold on, lift it, feel the liquid sloshing inside. The gray figures sense what I'm about to do. They surge forward all at once, a wave of reaching hands and clicking mouths. I throw the tank into the water directly in front of the bow. It hits with a splash, and for a second nothing happens. Then I drop the lighter on top of it. The explosion is everything the first one wasn't. Orange flame expands outward in a perfect sphere, and the shockwave hits me like a truck. I'm airborne, flying backward, and then I'm in the water, in that black chemical water that tastes like death and metal and the end of everything. The gray figures are screaming. Actually screaming, that clicking shriek multiplied by hundreds, and I can see them thrashing, burning, they're not quite flesh, igniting like paper. The parasites in them are dying, trying to abandon ship, pouring out of mouths and noses and wounds, and the water itself is on fire, covered in a layer of burning fuel that spreads across the surface like napalm. I'm swimming. Don't remember deciding to swim, but my arms are moving, pulling me through water that's hot enough to hurt, toward the channel exit, toward the light. Behind me the boat collapses completely, sinking beneath the flames in a hiss of steam. Something grabs my ankle. No, not now. Not when I'm so close. I look back and see Remy. What's left of Remy. Half his face is burned away, exposing bone and muscle and those white worms writhing in the exposed tissue. But his eyes are looking at me with something that might be recognition. Might be the last fragment of who he was, surfacing for just a moment before the parasites take even that. "Join us," he whispers. I kick him in the face. My boot connects with his jaw and I hear bone crack, see his head snap back. His grip loosens and I pull free, swim harder, legs pumping, arms burning. The exit is right there. 20 feet. 10. I can see regular swamp beyond it. Water that's brown instead of black. Trees that don't lean in like they're watching. Air that doesn't taste like chemicals and death. 5 feet. Something surfaces beside me. Dr. Nguyen, her face gray with exhaustion, her arms still moving in mechanical strokes. Terrence is right behind her, and he's got Simone, and I don't know if she's alive or dead or something in between, but he's still holding her, still trying to save her. We hit the exit together. The water changes. Not suddenly, there's no clear line, but I can feel it getting cleaner, feel the chemical thickness fading. The clicking sound stops. Behind us, the flames are dying down, and the gray figures have stopped pursuing. They're gathered at the entrance to the Phantom Mile, watching us go with those white clouded eyes, waiting for us to come back. My feet hit mud, solid ground. I crawl up onto the bank, collapsing in the shallows, and I've never been so grateful to feel dirt under my hands. Dr. Nguyen pulls herself up beside me. Terrence drags Simone onto dry land. We lie there gasping for what feels like hours but is probably only minutes. Is she breathing? Dr. Nguyen finally asks. Terrence checks, nods. Barely. But yeah, we need to get to a hospital. Now. She's already trying to stand, falling, trying again. The ranger station, how far? I try to remember. Try to think through the exhaustion and the fear and the parasite that I know is still inside me, that made it through my nose to my sinuses before Terrence pulled me out. Mile. Maybe 2. Can you walk? I honestly don't know. But I stand anyway, because sitting means thinking, and thinking means remembering what just happened, what I saw, what I did. Better to keep moving. We start walking. The ranger station is exactly 1.7 miles from the Phantom Mile exit. I know because there's a sign posted on the trail, one of those helpful park service markers that tells you how far you are from civilization. It feels like 100 miles. Terrence is carrying Simone now in a proper fireman's carry, and she's still breathing, but it's shallow, wet, and every few minutes she coughs and something white comes up with it. Dr. Nguyen keeps checking the welts on her arms, timing something, making calculations I don't want to understand. My own arm welts have spread to my chest. I can feel them under my shirt, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. Or maybe it's the parasite's heartbeat. Maybe they don't have hearts. Maybe they don't need them. The swamp is alive again. Normal alive, birds calling, insects buzzing, a gator bellowing somewhere in the distance. Everything that fled from the infected zone has returned, and I've never been so grateful to be eaten alive by mosquitoes. We're not going to make it in time, Dr. Nguyen says. She's not looking at me, just staring at the trail ahead like if she focuses hard enough she can will the ranger station closer. Even if the station has a radio, even if we can get through to a hospital, even if they send an airlift, the parasite load in Simone is too high. She's septic. Don't. Terrence's voice is sharp. Don't say it. She's alive. That's what matters. But we all know it's not enough. The station appears through the trees like a mirage. A small brick building with a radio tower and a parking lot that has exactly 2 vehicles in it. A park service truck and a Toyota Camry that probably belongs to whoever's on duty. We stagger toward it like zombies in a movie, which is funny in a way that'll probably make me laugh later if I survive long enough to have a later. The door opens before we reach it. The ranger is maybe 30, built like she spends her off hours at the gym, with blonde hair and a ponytail and a name tag that says Doucette. She takes one look at us, muddy, bloody, burned, carrying an unconscious woman, and her hand goes to the radio on her belt. What happened? Chemical spill. Dr. Nguyen's voice is steady, clinical, the tone she probably uses for grant applications and conference presentations. Kimball Chemical Plant. Parasitic outbreak. We need immediate medical evacuation and quarantine protocols. Ranger Doucette stares at her. Kimball shut down 7 years ago. No, it didn't. I pull out Dr. Nguyen's phone, the one she gave me before I tried to blow myself up. The video files are still there. I pull up the most recent one, recorded yesterday morning, and hold it out. Watch. The video shows a gator on a dissection table. Dr. Nguyen's voiceover is explaining what they're seeing as she cuts into the reptile's skull. The brain is almost entirely consumed by white worms, packed so tight they look like stuffing. As we watch, one of them writhes and the gator's dead eye twitches. Ranger Doucette goes pale. Jesus Christ. Call the CDC, Dr. Nguyen says. Call the EPA. Call the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't care who. Just get someone here who can contain this before it spreads beyond the basin. And get us a medical helicopter. Now. Doucette runs inside. We hear her voice rising in pitch as she talks to someone on the radio, using words like biohazard and potential epidemic and civilian casualties. Simone coughs. Blood streams from her mouth, black and thick. Terrence lays her down on the ground as gently as he can, and I can see him crying, not making any sound, just tears cutting tracks through the swamp mud on his face. Hey, I tell him, you did good. You saved her. For what? He asks. So she can die here instead of in the water? I don't have an answer for that. Dr. Nguyen is examining her own arms, peeling back the skin around one of the welts with shaking hands. I see white beneath the red, something coiled and moving. She makes a small sound, quickly cut off, and I realize she's trying not to scream. How long? I ask her. She knows what I'm asking. For me, maybe 6 hours. The infection rate is slower in adults, and I've had minimal direct water contact. Terrence, probably the same. You had full submersion, Mark. And that parasite that went through your nose. She trails off. How long? I repeat. 3 hours. Maybe 4. The helicopter arrives in 26 minutes. I know because I watched the second hand on the station clock, counting off every tick like it's a personal victory. They land in the parking lot and 3 people in full hazmat suits run out with a stretcher. They take Simone first. Load her into the helicopter and one of them, I can't tell if it's a man or woman under the suit, hooks her up to and for while another takes blood samples. They work fast, efficient, no wasted movement. Then they come for us. We're setting up a quarantine facility in Baton Rouge. One of them tells us through the suit's speaker. CDC is already en route. We're going to treat this as a Class A biohazard until we know more. The water, Dr. Nguyen says. You need to quarantine the water. Anyone who's been in the basin in the last 48 hours needs to be screened. Anyone who's eaten fish from these waters. Anyone who. Ma'am, we'll handle it. Right now I need you to lie down on the stretcher. She does. They strap her in, take her away. Then Terrence. Then it's just me and Ranger Doucette in the parking lot. Your turn, she says. I look back toward the trail, toward the Phantom Mile. Smoke is still rising from the wreckage, a black column that's probably visible from Highway 70. Something moves at the tree line, something gray watching. They're still out there, I tell her. In the Phantom Mile. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. And if they get into the main waterways, if they spread to the Atchafalaya, to the Mississippi, the CDC will handle it. Will they? Will they believe what we're telling them, or will they think we're in shock, hallucinating, traumatized? Will they move fast enough, or will they do what institutions always do? Form committees, run studies, wait for conclusive proof while the parasites spread through every waterway in Louisiana? I think about authority betrayal, about how Dr. Nguyen said Kimball Chemicals been leaking for years and nobody did anything. About how the ranger claims the plant shut down when we have video evidence of it still operating. About all the ways the people in power knew and chose to look away. Mark, Doucette's hand is on my arm. You need to get in the helicopter. I do. They strap me in beside Dr. Nguyen, and the helicopter lifts off, and through the window I watch the basin shrink below us. Watch the Phantom Mile, that dark scar through the green, still smoking. Watch it until we're too high, and it's just another part of the endless swamp. Dr. Nguyen's eyes are closed. The welts on her arms are moving visibly now, the skin rippling. I wonder what's happening inside her brain, what the parasites are building, what she'll become if the drugs don't work. I wonder the same thing about myself. The parasite in my sinuses is moving. I can feel it, a foreign presence behind my eyes, and sometimes when I blink I see things that aren't there. Gray figures standing in the helicopter. Remy's half-burned face smiling at me. Celine, except her eyes are filmed white, and she's saying, "Join us, Daddy, it's better in the water." I close my eyes and count seconds. The quarantine facility is a converted warehouse with plastic sheeting and negative pressure ventilation, and men in hazmat suits everywhere. They take blood samples, spinal fluid, skin biopsies. They inject me with things, antiparasitics, antibiotics, steroids. They ask questions I'm too tired to answer properly. Simone dies at 3:47 p.m. I know because I hear the alarms from my isolation room, hear the running feet, hear someone shouting code blue. Then silence. Terrence breaks down. I hear him through the plastic sheeting, sobbing, and a doctor's voice trying to calm him, trying to explain that they did everything they could, that the parasite load was simply too high. Dr. Nguyen doesn't cry. She just lies on her cot, staring at the ceiling, and I see her lips moving like she's counting something. They tell me at 6:15 p.m. that the first round of antiparasitics didn't work. The parasites in my bloodstream are resistant. They're trying different drugs, different combinations, but I can hear the uncertainty in the doctor's voice. Can hear him not saying what we both know, that these parasites were designed by Kimball Chemicals runoff, mutated by whatever cocktail of industrial waste they were dumping, and drugs meant for natural organisms might not work on them. At 7:30 p.m., Terrence starts screaming. They sedate him. At 8:45 p.m., Dr. Nguyen speaks for the first time since we arrived. "Mark, are you awake?" "Yeah, I can feel them. In my brain. They're not hurting anything yet. Just exploring, learning the pathways. It's actually fascinating from a neurological standpoint. The way they navigate the neural network, it's almost like..." She stops. Laughs, a sound with no humor in it. "Listen to me. Still trying to study them, even while they're eating my brain. The drugs might still work." "No, they won't. I can tell. The parasites are adapting to each new compound. They're learning faster than we can poison them." Through the plastic, I see her sit up on her cot. See her reach for something, a pen maybe, or a piece of medical equipment. "Dr. Nguyen." "My name is Lin," she says. "If I'm going to die, I'd rather die as Lin than as Dr. Nguyen." "You're not going to die." "Yes, I am. We all are. And when we do, we'll become vectors. We'll try to get to the water. We'll try to infect others. The protocols here aren't sufficient. They're designed for viruses, not for parasites with this level of behavioral control. We'll break out. We'll spread it." She's right. I know she's right. Already I can feel the parasite's influence, subtle but there. A pull toward the water. A desire to be submerged. A certainty that everything would be better, cleaner, easier if I just gave in. "So what do? We make sure we can't." Her voice is very calm. Very certain. "There are gas lines in this building. Industrial valves. If we open them, if we create a spark..." "Jesus, Lin. It's the only way to be sure. To be sure we don't spread it. To be sure we don't become like Remy, like those gray things in the Phantom Mile. To die human." I think about Celine. About whether she'd rather have a dead father or a father who's become a host for parasitic worms. About what I'd want if I was her. I think about impossible choices, about options that both destroy something vital, about decisions that define who you become. There has to be another way, I say, but I don't believe it. Neither does she. At 9:17 p.m., the emergency alarms go off. Someone's escaped their quarantine room. Terrence, probably, based on the screaming. I hear running feet, shouts, the distinct sound of someone being tackled. At 9:23 p.m., the lights go out. In the darkness, I hear clicking. It's coming from everywhere, from my room, from Lynn's room, from somewhere down the hall where Terrence is. The parasites are talking to each other, coordinating, and we're still here, still conscious, still watching while they take control of our nervous systems one neuron at a time. "Mark." Lynn's voice is different, flatter. I can't feel my left hand anymore. The clicking gets louder. I close my eyes and think about Celine one last time. Hope she understands. Hope she doesn't. Hope she never has to make this choice. The CDC reports indicate that the Bayou Sorrel quarantine incident resulted in 4 confirmed fatalities. 1 from parasitic infection, Simone Thibodeau, 21. 3 from facility fire of unknown origin. The investigation into Kimball Chemicals operations is ongoing. Atchafalaya Basin has been closed to public access, pending environmental remediation. Expected completion date, unknown. Ranger Doucette reports continued sightings of unusual wildlife activity in the area designated as the Phantom Mile. The reports are unverified. Celine LeBlanc, 14, receives a death certificate for her father dated May 12th. She keeps his fishing tackle box in her closet. Sometimes late at night, she swears she can hear clicking coming from inside it. She never opens it to check.